Hope Floats, Passion Steers by Nece. When a ship sets sail, the passengers typically know where they are going, how they will get there, and why they started the journey in the first place. Unfortunately, in life, coordinates aren't always set and timing is not always in your control. But there is one thing for sure. Uncertainty comes with both sailing and living. From my vantage point, I've realized that the more you live life fully, the more adventures you're given. But rough seas and unpredictable weather can easily take you off course. If you're not confident in your ability to navigate it, or surrounded by the people who can help you get through it, your ship may be sunk. In my case, I live life with adventure, but remain close to the shore when faced with a possible lucrative and risky adventure. I enjoy remaining grounded and keeping financial losses to a minimum. No risk, no reward, in the financial sense, would never have been my life's mantra. Until now. Pending what fears you face, the journey from a place of comfort to the unknown can be filled with some high seas adventures or boat-crushing tragedies. Our journey began last summer when my husband, our 8-year-old son, and I took a trip to one of our favorite vacation spots, Key West, Florida. While many would characterize Key West as a place to enjoy bottomless beverages, we chose to experience Florida Keys in an entirely different light. We respect its enchantment with captivating stories filled with multi-talented residents who embrace island living with all its hopes and hardships. Intuitively, I felt this trip was going to be different than any other trip to the Keys. A feeling of opportunism came over me. Although I didn't know what treasures would be waiting for me, I knew that it involved running into Pat Croce, former Philadelphia 76ers owner, nationally recognized speaker, international best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, pirate museum owner, and treasure hunter. How did I know? All I had to go on was this feeling coming from the depths of my soul, and it was related to pirates. In addition, there were 3 people in my life who knew him both professionally and personally. They came from 3 entirely different circles of friends. I knew I had to place positive intention and focus on this encounter. It was never a matter of if, it was only a matter of when. 30 minutes after our plane landed, I received a text from a mutual friend that Pat was going to be at a book signing in Key West later that night. To get into the flow, I suggested to my family that we would go to one of Pat's 6 restaurants, the Rum Barrel. Why? It was not only because it was Pat's first restaurant, but also a friend of mine helped Pat to build it, and it was themed for 2 of Pat's biggest passions, Philadelphia and pirates. It was also the first initial site of Pat's first pirate museum. We walked into the Rum Barrel. Shiver me timbers! There he was, sitting with a few of his restaurant's general managers. I quickly introduced myself and family and continued to let him conduct his business. 40 minutes later, he walked over to our table and energetically asked Tyler, "Who is your favorite pirate?" Tyler quickly shouted back, "Blackbeard." "Mine too," Pat responded. Initially, I was a little taken back by Ty's choice of pirates, but kept focused on the moment. While my husband watched starstruck, Pat and I began to synergize and found common ground in this brief encounter. Later that night, we saw Pat speak at a book signing. Before he began speaking, a woman in the front row shouted, "I'm Mary Reed." I responded back, "Well then, I'm Ann Bonny." Mary and Ann were 2 members of Calico Jack's crew who dressed as men in order to board his ship and live a pirate's life. As history tells the tale, it was Mary and Ann who kept fighting until the end, while the rest of Calico Jack's crew crouched down below the deck. Pat loved the banter from the front row, grateful to have another opportunity to connect. At the end of our conversation, he said, I want to see you speak, Molly." Luckily for me, this wasn't the first time Pat had heard about me. Our mutual friend told Pat about my chosen career as a motivational speaker and the creativity, passion, and action I put behind everything I set out to accomplish. One connection even went so far to say, "Molly approaches life like you do, Pat." Pat also closes every email with one of his favorite sayings: "Take action on your passion." While I knew our energies were similar, I also knew I wasn't like Pat. He was a millionaire, and money did not control him. I still was plundering, getting through my fear of not having enough, or worse, losing it all. Money still controlled me. And this was preventing me from living my dreams to the fullest as a full-time speaker, consultant, and coach with the Nece group. As we turned in for the night, I told my husband that something is going to happen, and it was going to involve pirates and Pat. Over the next 5 days, Pat and our paths crossed 5 more times. Our final Key West encounter with Pat occurred as we left for the airport. Pat was taking his morning run in the development. We were staying 1 block away from his house. Who knew? We slowed down the car to say goodbye one last time. "Molly, are you running for mayor? I see you everywhere." I quickly replied, "Only if you will be my campaign manager." "I want to see you speak, Molly." It's a matter of when, not if. Stay tuned, Pat. On our drive to the airport, I felt a comfortable sense of healthy anxiety and exhilaration. I sat with positive intention, trying to figure out what was next. There was no doubt in my mind that there was something going to happen. But what was it going to look like? My husband then shared with me that he wants to live in Key West. From a rational point of view, I said absolutely not. It's expensive and the schools have terrible ratings. But then I remembered who Ty and Pat said were their favorite pirate, Blackbeard. I immediately Googled, where did Blackbeard's ship crash? Perfect, we'll look there. Our hotspot was targeted for where we were going to start our next adventure, Wilmington, North Carolina. Now that my husband was satisfied with my findings, I began to reflect back on Pat and my 5 encounters and his love of pirates, entrepreneurism, family, and country. It hit me like a strike of lightning. Land ho, the 8 rules to plunder by. The design and hands-on activities for this transformational training program flowed through me as though I was being guided by someone other than myself. But whom? I released total control and let the creation process take charge. In less than 72 hours, I had formally developed a 90-minute program surrounding the 8 rules and presented it on a college campus 1 week later. I emailed the footage of the presentation to Pat the following Sunday. He loved it, and we met face-to-face one afternoon a few weeks later. It was a pure pirate enlightening experience. After listening to Pat tell some of his treasure hunting tales and learning about some of his pirate relics and holding a few of them in my own hands, I was hooked, both literally and figuratively. Pat opened my eyes to how history has chosen to focus on the colorful history of pirates, not on how they effectively and efficiently ran their ship, and why many pirates became pirates in the first place. After listening to Pat for 3 hours, I knew we had so much more to learn and gain from history. I need to help shape future of American businesses and organizations, but I had to do it in a way that participants would experience a transformational leadership experience, not simply a theoretical training in a vacuum. 1 week later, the Pirate Leadership Institute was born, and Pat gratefully endorsed me and what I was setting out to achieve. While I have a great product with a solid business plan, endorsed by a modern-day successful business pirate himself, what more do I need? I still have my fear of not having a predictable income from week to week. My husband and I both worked for the same university with comfortable salaries, amazing health benefits, a flexible work schedule, and a great quality of life. While I have operated my outside speaking company for 4 years, self-published 5 of my own books in 2 years, and co-authored another book, my focus was on family and the day job. My day job also enabled me to coach, consult, and train employees and students and have a 5-minute commute to work. In most people's minds, I had the perfect life. Then why on earth would we want to move from the safety zone into the abyss? 100% intuition and anticipation of what's next. That's it. I felt there was something more I needed to be doing with my talents, and I knew it was my fear of losing financial security that was holding me back. While putting the final touches on the Pirate Leadership Institute, I didn't lose sight of my husband's desire to move. I enjoyed working in higher education, so I looked for employment in Wilmington, North Carolina. Nothing. As a result, I decided to write the Director of Talent Management, my future boss, and the Professional Development Coordinator, who I would later replace, separate emails about our family's intention of moving to the area within the next 5 years. I also shared with them my skills and intentions and how I might be able to assist their efforts in the meantime. Although I never heard back from either of them, I knew I couldn't give up hope. 1 month later, I was asked to present Managing Change in Turbulent Times for a very large university in Pennsylvania. It was timely because it was around the same time 67-year-old Diana Nyad finally succeeded in swimming from Cuba to Key West without anything to aid her but a mask to protect her from the jellyfish. Diana was a perfect woman to highlight in my upcoming keynote. As I developed the keynote, it was very easy for me to see myself in the story as I developed strategies to overcome this fear I was currently facing. I continued to replace negative thoughts with positive action. I knew a position would open up for me at one of the universities in Wilmington. In November, it happened. A full-time benefits administrator position appeared online. At first, I felt like sticking 1,000 needles in my eyes but then I decided to go for it anyhow. I shifted my focus back to our family's goal, to move to Wilmington, North Carolina for a coastal, fun-filled family adventure. Time passed quickly as we continued to put all our energies into making the move. December arrived and it was time for me to deliver Managing Change in Turbulent Times. Prior to my going on stage, the woman who hired me shared privately that she had accepted a Director of Human Resources position with a state university in North Carolina. This university was only 2 hours away from Wilmington, and their mascot was the Pirates. Arr, matey, the treasure was coming together. I could make additional revenue by facilitating the Pirate Leadership Institute for her faculty and staff. She loved the idea. 2 weeks later, my husband emailed me a posting at the university for him. It calls me to see what else may have posted since I last applied that I would be both qualified and interested in. Lo and behold, a part-time professional development position. Less money, but exactly what I'm doing now. Just 10 years behind where I have been able to take my current university. I received a phone interview 2 weeks later. In the meantime, my husband discovered that a college friend had moved his family's pigs farm from New Jersey and lives in Wilmington, North Carolina with his beautiful family. He also happened to be a realtor for family and friends. In addition, my husband uncovered a childhood friend who grew up in the same block who now owned a popular Philly sports bar in Wilmington. Without hesitation, immediately we decided to drive down over the holiday break to see for ourselves why are we being drawn to Wilmington. After our 3-day mini vacation and reconnecting with old friends, all 3 of us fell in love. It was everything we loved about our current community, but better. We were only 10 minutes from the ocean. 1 week later, after we returned from our trip, the university called me to say that the position has changed from a part-time position to a full-time position and asked me to reapply. Although the process started all over again, I knew only more goodness was to follow. Everything was going great, except there was one big obstacle staring both my husband and I in the face. Prior to getting married, we took a test that identified our 5 core values. We used these values to process opportunities and situations in order to gain awareness and make good choices for our family, both personally and professionally. In this case, we had 2 core values that could get misaligned. For my husband, it was pride, and for me, it was economic security. My husband would be entering a new environment unemployed and not contributing monetarily to our family, and my need to pay the bills every month and not go into debt. If we were to make this move, we would decrease our combined income by 75% and run a budget deficit. I could not hide from my fear any longer. Something felt different this time. I felt as though I was not alone in the process and that universal laws and situations and people were there to guide me. Money was on the tree. I just had to pick it and continue to make it grow. As I aligned my thoughts and actions, situations presented themselves to confirm that there is always a way. I came to realize that everything I want wants me. It was time to let go of the belief that I am 100% in control of my destiny. I began to feel the shift from a place of scarcity to abundance. As I continued to follow the treasure pieces, I knew deep in my heart and soul that there were things that were going to turn out more magical than I could have ever believed. I also knew that once our goal of living in Wilmington, North Carolina came true, it was my duty to share this story with the world, to show that hope floats and passion steers. At the beginning of every year, to help steer our family's intention, each of us paint on a canvas one word that we feel can help us live happy and more fulfilled. To help me stay on this path of abundance and prosperity, I chose the word believe. My husband chose sunshine, spelled Sonshine. He wanted to be more mindful with the time he spent with our son, and our son's word was inner peace. Yes, it's 2 words, but we made it one. Tyler had trouble finding kind-hearted friends who shared his interest and his meaning of what a true friend was. These 3 words gave us strength and direction we needed as we continued through the process of what we would be waiting for us in Wilmington. Affirmations were placed around the various light switches to serve as constant reminders of the why and how our move to Wilmington was going to come to fruition. Time began to move too slowly for Tyler. In my most recent children's book, Molly's Adventure to Sunnyside, Tyler the tortoise taught Molly that patience wins the race. We both were reminded that we needed to focus on this mantra. Tyler wanted to move almost more than my husband and I combined. As a result, we made an Advent-like calendar and he picked how many days he felt it would take for us to get some answers as to when the move would take place. 43 days was the number he chose and that we all focused on. Every morning, as a family, we held hands around the Wilmington Advent calendar, individually stating what we were grateful for and what we were looking forward to when we moved to our new community. It became a very happy and peaceful time for our family as the universe continued to provide. After my second phone interview, the end of March, the house we had our eyes set on since the beginning of February was still available. To help us visualize us in our new home, I had drawn out the floor plan and sketched where our furniture would go. I hung the picture on our bedroom mirror. I also began to pack the house and get it ready to show once I got the job offer. We were 100% in the flow, and we felt our ship moving south. The 2 days after my second interview, Our house, that we never physically had seen, went under contract. Keeping optimistic, my husband and I both felt it would come back on the market. 4 weeks later, I was scheduled to deliver a 30-minute presentation and have a face-to-face interview. Because I got this far in the process, I felt as though I already had the job. The words I chose to communicate that intention with my inner circle were inspired by my confidence and ability to feel as though it's already my job. The presentation I developed fit the university's immediate needs, and I branded it not only with their colors and logo, but also with their university's mission, vision, and slogan. I also pitched it to the hiring manager as a monetizable program with a complete lineup of downloadable products. 18 employees not only loved my presentation, but my future boss was excited about the possible revenue generation. Confident I would get the job, our house continued to be under contract, and no other houses really piqued our interest except one other. However, both happened to be in the same great neighborhood as Dan's friend, who was the pig farm owner and realtor. We were not about to give up hope now. 3 weeks after my face-to-face interview, I finally got the job offer. Our house in Pennsylvania was on the market within 24 hours and had 2 offers 4 days later. Sold! I highly recommend burying a statue of St. Joseph and cleansing each room with a mixture of sea salt and water. This is how you do it. You place the mixture in a spray bottle and state positive intentions of selling and blessings towards those who enter your home. It doesn't take much. Simply spray a little in each room as you move throughout your home. You may find it very cleansing as well. I know I did. So just as if 2 confirmed offers on the house wasn't enough, our house in North Carolina came back on the housing market the morning of my job offer. There are no coincidences in life. Remember, everything you want wants you. You have to believe. We put a full price cash offer on the house, sight unseen, and traveled the 10-hour one-way trip the following weekend to make sure we like what we bought. Gratefully, we did. During the week, I also learned that our family benefits would cost $700 a month, not the $1,500 a year we were accustomed to, but knew it was a part of the lesson I was supposed to be learning of letting go of the fear. Another test? Absolutely. Remaining positive, my husband's friend and part-time realtor decided to bring in another realtor to make sure we didn't lose this house. Not only was this man a stellar realtor, earlier that week he delivered a workshop to realtors that discussed the importance of ethics and values. My type of guy. After meeting him, sparks began to fly. I'd become very familiar with this feeling and knew I had to explore. We learned that prior to being a realtor, he was a golf pro for 15 years at a prestigious golf course in Antigua. My husband, still jobless in North Carolina, had spent 15 years in the golf industry. But wait, I felt that there was a synergy between us. Why my husband? But wait, prior to our trip, an 80-year-old gentleman who runs a highly acclaimed, nationally recognized golf school reached out to me on LinkedIn. Knowing that the realtor and I share a belief of the power of the law of attraction, I asked if he would be open to getting back into the golf industry somehow. His response, "I explore all opportunities, Molly." Although the 80-year-old gentleman was initially looking to recruit me to join a women's golf leadership program in Atlanta, after speaking with me for an hour, he was interested in me running his leadership workshops in North Carolina, but was not interested in having a man be the golf pro. In addition, the leadership facilitator would not necessarily have to know the game of golf. Golf instruction is not the focus. Someone who is passionate, seasoned instructor in leadership and networking is who he was looking for. That weekend, I bought a starter set of golf clubs, and the journey began. After swinging a few balls, it happened. I recalled having my mother-in-law buy a book for my husband 3 years ago about the journey of life from a golfer's point of view. The Links of Success Leadership Golf Program was born 48 hours later. Lucky for me, when I was down interviewing for my job, I had requested a lunch meeting with the father-in-law of my husband's fraternity brother. Yet another encounter when sparks flew. His final words were, "Wilmington needs more women like you, Molly." Knowing he was an avid golfer, I emailed him the website I designed around the concept and asked him who he thought would be interested in hosting a 2-day workshop titled The Links of Success for Women Business Leaders. He sent me a name of a co-owner of a local golf course and owner of 3 executive search firms. The eagle has landed and my husband got a job. No more bogeys for us. Bogeys are all in the eye of the beholder. So, in this 12-month voyage, I have learned first-handedly how hope truly can float, and passion will always steer when you take a hold of the wheel and let go of the fear. Sail ho.